It began with a quiet gathering behind the walls of Windsor Castle, where trusted advisors, estate officials, and members of the royal household reportedly reviewed documents few outsiders even knew existed. But it was Prince William's unusually serious expression afterward that sent whispers racing through palace corridors. Something extraordinary had surfaced, and at the center of it all stood Prince Louis, and a forgotten Balmoral legacy many believed had vanished forever. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. At first, those closest to the palace attempted to dismiss the growing speculation as nothing more than another wave of exaggerated royal gossip. Yet, the atmosphere inside royal circles had reportedly changed long before the public became aware that something unusual was unfolding. According to various insiders familiar with estate affairs, a series of private discussions had quietly brought together Prince William, Princess Catherine, and trusted trustees responsible for safeguarding some of the monarchy's most treasured inheritances. These meetings were said to be unusually discreet, conducted far away from the attention that often follows every movement of the royal household. What made the situation even more remarkable was the object at the center of those conversations. Hidden among generations of records, and rarely spoken about outside the highest circles of the work institution, a long-forgotten arrangement connected to Balmoral Cottage had reportedly resurfaced. For decades, the secluded property had existed almost like a forgotten chapter in royal history. Few expected it to become the focus of such intense interest, and even fewer imagined that its rediscovery would ultimately place young Prince Louis at the heart of an extraordinary story. Reports suggest that palace aides were instructed to maintain an unusual level of confidentiality. Staff members who would normally be involved in estate matters reportedly found themselves excluded from discussions, fueling whispers that something significant was taking place behind closed doors. Those familiar with the workings of the monarchy noted that such secrecy was rare, especially when matters concerning family properties were involved. It was not simply the existence of the arrangement that raised eyebrows, but the determination with which senior figures appeared to protect the information from becoming public too soon. Adding to the intrigue was the unexpected involvement of Prince Louis himself. Sources close to royal circles claimed that his name had emerged during conversations few believed would concern the youngest Wales child. While no official statement accompanied the reports, the mere suggestion that Louis had become linked to an inheritance matter sent speculation into overdrive. At the same time, whispers began circulating that assumptions surrounding Meghan's source, reported expectations connected to the property, were quietly being reconsidered. Those rumors remained unconfirmed, yet they added another layer of mystery to an already extraordinary situation. Perhaps most surprising of all, insiders would later suggest that unusual activity had been taking place for weeks. Certain observers reportedly sensed subtle changes inside the palace long before any details emerged. Looking back, they claimed there had been signs all along, small indications that something hidden beneath the surface was preparing to reshape expectations in ways nobody could have anticipated. And as questions multiplied and whispers became impossible to ignore, one truth slowly began to emerge. The mystery surrounding Balmoral Cottage was only the beginning, because its origins stretched back to a promise buried deep within royal history. Long before the current generation inherited the burdens of the crown, Balmoral held secrets that were never intended for public debate. Among its rolling landscapes stood a secluded cottage, spoken of only in whispers. A place associated not with wealth, but with legacy. Yet, as forgotten records resurfaced, it became increasingly clear that this modest sanctuary represented far more than anyone had imagined. As the mystery surrounding the rediscovered arrangement deepened, attention slowly shifted away from modern disputes and toward the distant origins of Balmoral itself. Those familiar with royal history often described the Scottish estate not simply as a retreat, but as a place where generations of monarchs found comfort far from the pressures of public life. Hidden among those traditions, according to various accounts whispered over decades, stood a quiet cottage whose significance had never been measured by luxury or grandeur. Instead, its value rested in something far more powerful. It represented continuity, it represented memory, and above all, it represented a promise. The so-called forbidden Balmoral Cottage had remained absent from public discussions for so long that many believed its story had been forgotten altogether. Yet among historians and longtime estate officials, the property occupied a unique place in royal lore. Unlike the grand residences known around the world, this secluded sanctuary reportedly carried deeply personal meaning for Queen Elizabeth II. Insiders would later suggest that the late monarch regarded certain corners of Balmoral not as symbols of status, but as reminders of family, duty, and the responsibilities passed from one generation to the next. That quiet philosophy, they claimed, shaped many decisions that were never intended to attract headlines. As fragments of old records began attracting renewed attention, reports emerged suggesting that Queen Elizabeth's wishes concerning the estate had been carefully preserved over the years. Those close to palace traditions spoke of her determination to protect the spirit of Balmoral itself, ensuring that sentiment and legacy carried more weight than expectation or public pressure. While official confirmation remained elusive, the whispers were enough to spark enormous curiosity. Why had this particular property remained hidden for so long? And why had its existence suddenly become so important? Part of the answer, according to several royal observers, lay in the extraordinary efforts made to shield the cottage from unnecessary attention. For decades, its story remained buried beneath larger events and more visible royal affairs. The secrecy was deliberate. The less the public knew, the easier it was to preserve the meaning attached to the property. But with the passage of time and the arrival of a new generation, forgotten details inevitably began resurfacing. And as they did, another astonishing possibility emerged. Reports suggested that earlier succession arrangements linked to the cottage may have existed long before current assumptions ever took shape. Those suggestions immediately triggered concern among advisors responsible for safeguarding the institution. Some reportedly feared that conflicting expectations could transform a deeply personal legacy into a source of controversy. Others worried that misunderstandings surrounding the property's history might create tensions no one wished to see. What had once been viewed as a quiet chapter of royal history was rapidly becoming something far more sensitive. And as pressure mounted, historians and trustees found themselves examining every surviving document with increasing urgency. What they uncovered next would leave even seasoned observers stunned. But as historians and trustees examined the records more closely, they discovered that someone else had quietly expected a very different outcome. By early 2026, rumors surrounding Balmoral Cottage had reportedly evolved into something far more sensitive. Different interpretations emerging from royal circles suggested expectations had formed regarding who might ultimately benefit from the secluded retreat. But as assumptions collided with tradition, the atmosphere inside the palace reportedly became increasingly strained. The revelations uncovered by historians and trustees had already shaken many long-held beliefs, but they also exposed another reality that few had anticipated. What had once been viewed as a quiet matter concerning a forgotten piece of royal history was now becoming the center of increasingly delicate conversations. According to various insiders, different expectations had gradually formed over the years regarding who might eventually benefit from the secluded property. None of those assumptions had been publicly acknowledged, yet whispers surrounding the sanctuary estate had quietly circulated within certain circles for far longer than anyone realized. And as those expectations began colliding, with the traditions that had governed the monarchy. For generations, tensions reportedly started rising behind closed doors. Several royal commentators claimed that competing interpretations concerning the future of the cottage had created an atmosphere unlike anything advisors had anticipated. For some, the matter represented sentiment and continuity. For others, it appeared tied to broader expectations regarding family legacy and future generations. Those differing perspectives reportedly transformed what should have been a simple review of old records into a deeply emotional issue. Suddenly, every detail mattered. Every forgotten note, every preserved instruction, every decision made decades earlier carried consequences that were now impossible to ignore. It was during this period that Meghan's close name reportedly became linked to private discussions surrounding the property. According to various interpretations circulating within royal circles, expectations connected to the Sussex branch had quietly become part of the conversation. While no official acknowledgement ever emerged, the mere suggestion added enormous pressure to an already sensitive situation. Observers noted that the palace had become increasingly cautious, aware that any misunderstanding could quickly evolve into a much larger controversy. What had begun as historical research was slowly turning into something far more personal and potentially divisive. Insiders familiar with the atmosphere inside the royal household described a growing sense of unease. Conversations that once focused on preserving history were now reportedly accompanied by concerns about potential disagreements and unintended consequences. Advisors feared that emotions could overshadow tradition, while others worried that assumptions built over time might conflict with arrangements carefully protected by previous generations. The uncertainty itself became a source of anxiety. Nobody wanted a legacy intended to unite the family to become the cause of renewed divisions. Throughout the uncertainty, Prince William and Princess Catherine were reportedly following developments with extraordinary care. Sources close to royal circles suggested both understood the importance of protecting not only the institution itself, but also the values that had guided generations before them. They reportedly recognized that decisions involving Balmoral were never simply about ownership. They were about continuity. They were about honoring promises that had survived changing times and shifting circumstances. Yet even they understood that preserving those traditions would become increasingly difficult if conflicting expectations continued to grow. At the heart of the tension lay one unsettling question. Had earlier arrangements existed that very few people knew about? And if so, what exactly had previous generations intended? Those questions reportedly prompted historians and trustees to continue examining records with renewed urgency, searching for answers hidden within documents many believed would never matter again. None of them, however, could have predicted what they were about to uncover, because the real shock arrived when forgotten documents began revealing details that nobody expected to see again. What began as routine estate reviews soon transformed into one of the most astonishing discoveries whispered about within royal circles. Sources familiar with the matter suggested trustees had uncovered provisions that appeared to point toward Prince Louis. Suddenly, years of assumptions seemed to collapse under the weight of a legacy carefully protected across generations. The questions that had troubled historians and advisors for weeks were no longer matters of speculation alone. As trustees continued examining records that many believed had little relevance to modern affairs, something extraordinary reportedly emerged from the forgotten pages. According to individuals familiar with the process, overlooked provisions hidden among decades of estate documents began revealing details that had escaped notice for years. What had initially appeared to be ordinary administrative reviews quickly evolved into a discovery capable of reshaping assumptions that had quietly existed inside royal circles for generations. Those involved in the investigation reportedly found themselves stunned by the implications various interpretations suggested that certain provisions seemed to point toward Prince Louis in ways nobody had anticipated. The possibility itself was enough to send waves of disbelief through those responsible for safeguarding the monarchy's traditions. For years, expectations had rested upon entirely different understandings. Yet suddenly, those assumptions appeared to be unraveling. The more closely experts examined the language contained within the records, the harder it became to ignore what they believed the documents were indicating. News of the discovery was reportedly shared with Prince William and Princess Catherine, whose reactions, according to royal insiders, reflected both surprise and a profound sense of responsibility. Sources claimed that neither viewed the matter through the lens of privilege or personal gain. Instead, their attention reportedly centered on preserving the wishes of previous generations and ensuring that any decisions would honor the values that had guided the institution for decades. Yet they also understood the enormous sensitivity surrounding the revelation. If the documents proved authentic, their implications would extend far beyond a single property. That question of authenticity quickly became a priority. Historians, archivists, and trusted advisors reportedly intensified their efforts, carefully reviewing every surviving record connected to the estate. Some described the process as painstaking, while others privately admitted they had never expected to encounter a discovery of such magnitude. Each piece of evidence seemed to strengthen the belief that the provisions had been deliberately preserved, hidden beneath layers of history, and protected by the passage of time itself. And with every new confirmation, the sense of astonishment continued growing. Whispers soon began spreading throughout palace circles. Staff members who had spent years serving the institution reportedly sensed that something remarkable was unfolding. Excitement gradually replaced uncertainty as more people became aware that the story, reaching back through generations, was finally revealing itself. For many longtime members of the royal household, the development inspired renewed admiration for Queen Elizabeth II and the enduring principles she was believed to have defended throughout her reign. Her legacy, already inseparable from Balmoral, suddenly appeared even more significant. Observers who once viewed the matter as a forgotten chapter now began recognizing it as part of a much larger story about continuity, responsibility, and the future of the crown itself. Yet beneath the growing excitement, senior figures understood a troubling reality. Discovering the documents was one thing. Protecting what they represented would prove far more difficult. Because uncovering the documents was only half the battle, because the palace now faced the challenge of protecting their implications. As whispers intensified, Prince William reportedly recognized that silence alone would not preserve the crown's traditions. According to various interpretations of events, a careful effort was launched to ensure the historic arrangements surrounding Balmoral Cottage remained respected. And with every passing day, the divide between expectation and reality became impossible to ignore. The discovery itself had stunned historians and trustees, but Prince William reportedly understood that finding forgotten documents was only the beginning. Preserving what those records represented would prove to be a far greater challenge. According to sources familiar with palace affairs, quiet discussions soon intensified, behind closed doors, as trusted advisors and estate officials worked to understand the full significance of the revelations. What had emerged from the archives was no longer simply a historical curiosity. It had become a matter touching the heart of royal continuity itself. And William reportedly believed that caution, patience, and respect for tradition would be essential in navigating the growing uncertainty. Various interpretations of events suggested that the Prince of Wales began coordinating closely with trustees and senior advisors responsible for safeguarding the monarchy's most treasured legacies. Those close to the institution claimed that his focus remained fixed not on personalities or controversy, but on ensuring that long-standing arrangements were treated with the seriousness they deserved. The atmosphere surrounding the discussions was said to be one of determination rather than panic. Everyone involved reportedly understood that the consequences of mishandling such sensitive matters could extend far beyond the immediate questions surrounding Balmoral Cottage. Throughout this period, Princess Catherine was said to have provided steady and quiet support. Royal insiders often described her approach as calm and measured, qualities that became increasingly important as speculation continued spreading through palace circles. While she reportedly remained far from the spotlight surrounding the issue, sources suggested that she fully appreciated the emotional weight attached to the revelations. For Catherine, as many observers interpreted it, the matter represented far more than inheritance. It reflected a responsibility to honor the values and traditions that previous generations had carefully protected. That sense of duty reportedly strengthened the resolve shared by those closest to the Prince and Princess of Wales. Meanwhile, palace officials themselves were said to be emphasizing one message above all others. Duty had to come before controversy. According to individuals familiar with internal discussions, considerable efforts were made to prevent misunderstandings from escalating into public disputes. Senior figures recognized that emotions and assumptions had already created enough tension. Their priority, sources claimed, was to preserve stability and protect the dignity of the institution, while allowing historians and advisors the time necessary to examine every prosody with care. It was a delicate balancing act, one requiring patience in the face of mounting curiosity. At the same time, increased scrutiny fell upon historical agreements connected to Balmoral. Documents once viewed as insignificant were re-examined with fresh attention. Historians continued searching for additional context, while advisors sought reassurance that the provisions uncovered by trustees reflected the intentions of those who had originally preserved them. With each new review, acceptance of the document's importance reportedly grew stronger. What had once seemed unimaginable gradually became harder to dismiss. Even among those initially skeptical, there was an emerging recognition that something profound had indeed been hidden within the pages of royal history. Yet, despite the palace's efforts to maintain calm and avoid unnecessary conflict, many sensed that the story had already outgrown the boundaries of Balmoral itself. The revelations were beginning to carry implications that reached much further than anyone had anticipated. Because even as the palace sought stability, the consequences of the revelation were beginning to spread far beyond Balmoral itself. Few within royal circles reportedly expected the discovery to create such widespread reaction. Yet, as words slowly filtered through the household, the implications became impossible to ignore. What had once seemed like an obscure matter involving a hidden cottage had now evolved into a debate about legacy, succession, and the future direction of the monarchy itself. The efforts undertaken by Prince William and his advisors had been intended to preserve stability, but even the most experienced figures inside the institution reportedly underestimated the magnitude of the reaction that followed. What had begun as a quiet examination of historical records was now becoming one of the most discussed developments in royal circles. According to sources familiar with palace affairs, the discovery triggered waves of astonishment among senior members of the family. Individuals who had long regarded Balmoral Cottage as little more than an obscure piece of history suddenly found themselves confronting questions that reached far beyond a single property. The issue had evolved into something much larger. It had become a conversation about continuity, legacy, and the responsibilities carried by future generations. Various interpretations suggested that several senior royals reacted with genuine surprise, as the significance of the documents became increasingly difficult to dismiss. For some, the revelations challenged assumptions that had existed for decades. For others, they represented a reminder that the monarchy's history often contains layers unknown, even to those closest to it. Royal commentators observed that there was a growing realization that previous generations had carefully planned for circumstances far beyond their own time. That understanding inspired admiration in some quarters and bewilderment in others. Yet above all, it reinforced the sense that the institution itself had always been built upon principles intended to outlast individual expectations. Meanwhile, palace staff reportedly noticed subtle but unmistakable changes within the household. According to insiders, conversations increasingly turned toward the importance of preserving traditions and understanding the intentions behind decisions made decades earlier. There was a renewed awareness that history had not finished shaping the future. Those who had served the monarchy for many years described an atmosphere unlike anything they had witnessed before. Curiosity mixed with uncertainty, while excitement coexisted with caution. Everyone seemed aware that they were watching a remarkable chapter unfold. Historians, for their part, emphasized one point repeatedly: precedent mattered. Royal institutions had survived precisely because generations before had respected the principles and understandings left behind by their predecessors. Experts examining the records reportedly argued that continuity depended upon honoring those foundations, regardless of changing circumstances. Their observations fueled broader discussions concerning the future generation and the various responsibilities that would eventually fall upon younger members of the family. Increasingly, Prince Louis found himself becoming part of those conversations. Although still young, his unexpected connection to the story reportedly captured growing attention both inside and outside royal circles. Observers who once focused exclusively on more senior figures now found themselves fascinated by the idea that history had quietly positioned him at the center of an extraordinary legacy. Public interest also intensified as stories about Balmoral's hidden past began spreading. The mystery surrounding the secluded cottage, the forgotten provisions, and the intentions of previous generations captivated countless royal followers, all eager to understand how a long-buried chapter had suddenly returned to shape the present. Yet amid the fascination and speculation, many insiders believed people were missing the deeper meaning behind the extraordinary discovery. Because in the end, the true importance of the revelations extended far beyond walls, titles, or inheritance. Indeed, the greatest significance of the discovery had little to do with property and everything to do with the message left behind. Behind the headlines and speculation, many observers believed the story represented something far greater than ownership. Reports suggest the hidden arrangements reflected a deeper philosophy, one centered on continuity, responsibility, and the preservation of traditions carefully guarded for decades. And in that philosophy, Prince Louis unexpectedly found himself entrusted with something far more valuable than a cottage. As fascination surrounding the revelations continued growing, an increasing number of royal commentators began reaching the same conclusion. The true significance of the story had never been about walls, land, or inheritance in the traditional sense. Those elements merely represented something deeper. According to various interpretations emerging from royal circles, the arrangements connected to Balmoral Cottage reflected principles that Queen Elizabeth II had spent her entire reign defending. Legacy, many believed, had always outweighed material value. Possessions could change hands, fortunes could rise and fall, but continuity and duty were treasures that previous generations had fought to preserve above everything else. That philosophy appeared to explain why so much care had reportedly been devoted to protecting the hidden provisions over the years. Sources familiar with royal traditions suggested that Queen Elizabeth viewed the monarchy not as a collection of privileges, but as a responsibility passed from one generation to another. Throughout her reign, she was often described as someone deeply committed to preserving stability and ensuring that the values shaping the institution would survive long after her squat time. For many observers, The rediscovered arrangements seemed entirely consistent with that lifelong commitment. They represented not favoritism, but faith in the future, and confidence that those who came next would carry the same sense of responsibility. Prince William reportedly understood that philosophy better than most. Throughout the uncertainty surrounding the documents, insiders frequently described his determination to protect traditions that had endured through decades of change. According to those close to palace affairs, he recognized that safeguarding history was about more than preserving memories. It was about protecting the principles that allowed the institution itself to survive. In many ways, the revelations strengthened his resolve. They served as a reminder that the crown had always relied upon continuity rather than convenience, and that temporary expectations should never outweigh commitments forged over generations. Amid these discussions, Prince Louis unexpectedly emerged as a symbol of something larger than himself. Though still young, his connection to the story captured the imagination of many who saw within it a reflection of the monarchy's future. Royal followers increasingly viewed him not simply as the youngest child of the prince and Princess of Wales, but as a representative of the next generation that would eventually inherit the responsibilities left behind by those who came before. In that sense, the cottage itself became almost secondary. What truly mattered was the message attached to it. Balmoral had always occupied a special place within the royal family. For generations, it represented privacy, memories, and a connection to traditions stretching back through history. The emotional significance attached to the estate far exceeded its physical boundaries. As public fascination continued to grow, there was also a growing recognition that the enduring principles underpinning the monarchy had once again revealed their strength. In a world constantly changing, those values still possessed remarkable power. Yet, even as observers reflected on the deeper meaning behind the extraordinary story, few realized that an even more astonishing chapter was approaching. Because perhaps the most remarkable chapter of this extraordinary story was still waiting to unfold. In the end, the story of the forbidden Balmoral Cottage became about far more than inheritance. It became a reminder that within the monarchy, history often speaks long after its architects are gone. And as Prince Louis quietly stepped into a legacy few imagined would belong to him, one truth appeared stronger than ever. The crown's future is shaped not by expectation, but by the enduring power of duty. After months of whispers, questions, and extraordinary discoveries, many royal observers reached the same conclusion. The remarkable journey surrounding Balmoral Cottage had never truly been about ownership, nor had it been about triumph or disappointment. Instead, it had become something far more profound. It had become a powerful reminder that the monarchy often moves according to principles established long before the people affected by them are even born. Generations may change, circumstances may evolve, yet history has a remarkable way of preserving the intentions of those who came before, waiting patiently until the right moment to reveal itself once more. For Prince Louis, whose name unexpectedly emerged at the center of the revelations, the story represented something few could have predicted. According to many interpretations, he had become connected to a legacy stretching far beyond his years. While countless headlines focused on the property itself, those closest to royal traditions understood that the real significance lay elsewhere. The quiet cottage hidden within Balmoral had become a symbol of continuity. It stood as a reminder that duty and memory often outlast assumptions, and that the values cherished by previous generations continue to shape the future in ways impossible to foresee. Throughout the unfolding story, one lesson appeared again and again. Royal traditions had proven stronger than speculation. Expectations may have changed, rumors may have spread, yet the principles carefully protected across decades had ultimately endured. Historians examining the remarkable sequence of events increasingly described the discovery as one of the most fascinating examples of how history can unexpectedly return to influence the present. For many of them, The revelations surrounding Balmoral Cottage represented not merely an unusual chapter, but an important affirmation of the institution's enduring foundations. At the heart of that continuity stood Prince William and Princess Catherine. According to sources familiar with their approach, their focus had always remained fixed on the future generation, rather than the controversies of the moment. They reportedly understood that preserving traditions was never about resisting change, but about ensuring that the values which gave the monarchy its stability would survive for those who came next. In many ways, the extraordinary story surrounding Prince Louis only reinforced that commitment. It reminded everyone involved that the crown has always looked forward, even while honoring the past. Meanwhile, historians and longtime observers continued reflecting on the wider implications of the discovery. Many viewed it as a significant moment that demonstrated how carefully previous generations had prepared for circumstances they themselves would never witness. It was yet another example of history quietly influencing the present, long after those responsible had departed. And perhaps most remarkably, it showed that the monarchy itself remains a living institution, forever entering new chapters no one can fully predict. As one chapter closed, another quietly began. The mystery of Balmoral Cottage may have been brought into the light, but its deeper meaning would continue to resonate for years to come. Because in the end, legacies are rarely measured by what people inherit. They are measured by the responsibilities they accept and the principles they choose to protect. And while the dust may have settled around Balmoral Cottage, many believe the secrets of royal history are far from finished revealing themselves. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.